All right. Let's see. So, welcome everyone to the live training, protecting your mindset during times of uncertainty, such as ones we're facing right now. I'll give people a little bit of time to show up, but while we're waiting, everyone, just let me know where you're joining from. I know I saw some familiar faces in the as I was setting up the registrations. So come on, let us know where you're joining from. I know I'm not supposed to use my sentences with prepositions. I think from is one of them, but that's in North Carolina and me. Perfect. So thank you all for joining. I'm honored that you've signed up, you're decided to spend some time with me today. And it's been an interesting last, well, on a lot of different levels. Interesting ever since a couple days ago, I decided to go ahead and hold this webinar. It was about a week ago. So in the last week, just figuring out the software and everything. So perfect. Now, what I'll do is, New York, we got New York here. I saw, like I said, I saw a lot of familiar faces. So I think we got a lot of Canada. And, you know, I'm a triple citizen, US and Canadian, but I couldn't help but use my Mountie mug today, just repping Canada with my Mountie mug. All right. So first off, you know, for future generations that may watch replays of this, one of the reasons I decided to do this was we're in very interesting times right now. It is a time when we're dealing with well, I don't know if they'll keep the name forever, but right now we're calling it COVID-19, and people under different levels of lockdown in different cities and different provinces, different countries. Personally, I had to cancel a trip across the world. A lot of people have had to do way more things than that. So one of the things that really hit me is that about a week and a half ago, so let me start the presentation here. Week and a half ago, I was sitting there and I was thinking about how things were, certainly a lot of changes going on that were affecting, the way that day-to-day life and the way that things are normally working are different. But I realized that some of the things I've learned about mindset and daily routines were really helping me. And the way I can best describe it is, and let me know, Ontario in the house as well. Awesome. So one of the things is I tested earlier. I could still hear myself from the mic from here. Just let me know if you can't hear me. But like, it's kind of like this. Like I'll just talk about the way I just started thinking about how would this have affected me a couple years ago versus now. And I kind of thought about it like this. Like, first off, I'm a self-admitted squirrel-brained entrepreneur. I've always got all these different ideas going, and and I'll talk about how I created the squirrel journal a bit. But like, what I was feeling was that under normal circumstances, when I don't have crazy things going on in my life, whether globally or locally, I feel like there is a certain level of control I have over my life, certain things of my life. And when things are going a little bit crazy, it's like this external force, like, getting at me. And is anyone, like, my squirrel brain entrepreneurs, give me a shout out, hashtag squirrel, if you're my people. Like, and there's nothing wrong with it. The world needs squirrel brain entrepreneurs who have trouble focusing. But I felt like there's a certain level of things that I have control over in my life. And then when things aren't going so well, it's kind of like it's infringing upon that. And before, like a couple years ago, before I had certain aspects of my life and certain routines in my life, it would have like shrunk this area that I felt like I had control over, or it would have gotten rid of it completely. And over the last couple weeks, I've just really appreciated some of the things that I have going on and that I've habits I've built over the last couple of years. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this training. I'm going to help other people get these things in line right now. So, so is anyone else feeling that? I'm sure people are feeling like, I mean, even as I'm doing this, normally at this time of day, I would not have kids at home. They're at home. Like, they're like, we've been telling them for a while, everyone has to be quiet during the webinar. We turned off all the other electronics in the house so our internet wouldn't be choppy, which it has been a little bit in the last little bit. So, all right, slides. So protecting your mindset and routines in times of turbulence. Now, that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. Where you're joining from, drop it in the comments. Saw a few people. Love to see where people are joining from. I love how this has grown organically. There's a lot of people that have registered who I have no clue where they are or what they how they found out about the webinar. So it's really cool. Perfect. All right. So one of the things that I've implemented over the last couple of years is like having a future vision of what life will look like in the future, a positive future vision. And so part of what I've been thinking about a lot over the last couple of weeks is, so I mean, you know, as a family, we were going to go to Israel. We would have been in Israel right now. We're going to go to Israel, and we were going to stop at Italy and Belgium on the way. Never been to Belgium. Was super excited about taking the kids to Italy. And we had to cancel the Italy portion because things were getting bad there. We're like, well, we'll still go to Israel. They had to cancel Israel because we were going to end up in a 14-day quarantine if we went. So it didn't make any sense. But like what I kept thinking was, and then things started clamping down more and more. And I started thinking like, what's the thing I'm going to do when all this is over? Like, what am I going to do when I can't wait, like when it's back to normal? What am I going to do? And the first thing I thought of was having a big old barbecue, like with all my friends, because I'm a pretty social dude. And the day that I knew schools were going to be closed, I went and volunteered at school almost all day to get a dose of like, hey, the parents are hanging out, the teachers, you know, like, and I mean, in retrospect, maybe like I shouldn't have done that. Like the whole social distancing thing. Future viewers, like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, social distancing was not a thing, and now it's a thing. So what's the first thing you'll do? First thing for me, like, you know, and I mean, the thing I'm looking forward to whenever it happens is just having a big old barbecue with friends and going to the beautiful beaches near my house and like having a beach barbecue, invite everyone I know so we can all hang out and just enjoy ourselves. So let me know what you're going to be doing. Oh, we got some people from BC. Awesome. So what are y'all going to do? Like, what are you looking forward to when things get back to normal? That's one of the things that I'm doing, is just thinking about that. And also we'll talk a little bit more about daily gratitude as we go, but that's definitely a big part of it. So, all right. Who is this for? Like this webinar is for you if you're feeling frazzled, if you're feeling like things are out of control, if you're missing some normalcy in your life right now. So we got someone in the comments, going to see my parents and giving them a giant hug. Absolutely. Big time. My dad was in quarantine in New York. My mom's in Colorado. Can't wait to see them again. We talked about her coming here at the last minute, which is probably good that we didn't, but yeah. Anyways, so if you're feeling frazzled, think things are out of control, missing normal life. So I decided to do this training. Yeah. So as I said, like my squirrel self was not as impacted as it would have been a couple years ago. Like that idea of what is in my control would have been much smaller or potentially non-existent up until recent times. Like, and I was thinking, man, like how can I help people out this time? Like I'm seeing all these acts of generosity from business owners, like restaurants donating their stock because it's going to go bad, and you know, hotel owners opening their hotels to people who need it, like all these things going on. I was like, what can I do? I mean, I'm helping my clients with certain things, but like, what can I do that could really help people? And so I thought, you know what, why not share this? Usually it's only for people who actually buy my journal, but I was like, forget it. Like, let's do this. Anyone who wants. And I'm an extrovert. I'm an extrovert who's missing some interaction. It's been awesome hanging out with my kids. I'm sure they will remember this as a pretty cool time in their lives, to be honest, because we are playing lots of board games and reading lots of books and watching lots of movies and going for bike rides far away from other people. But yeah, no, I am missing some of that social interaction. So this is helping me with that. So theme parks, friends in town. Oh, theme parks, man alive. No kidding. All right. So disclaimer. So especially at times like this, I'm highly sensitive of the nature of like the idea behind productivity in the journal I wrote. Like I am not a mental health care specialist, like nothing in that arena. This is not my day job. But so if you do, like, if just disclaimer, like if anyone needs any of that sort of help, reach out to someone. There's a lot of hotlines right now. Like that's what you should be doing. So anyway, so this isn't my day job. But I have spent hundreds of hours on personal development courses that have led me to create this process in my life. I may admit how much I've shelled out for it, maybe not. And I've had some amazing months where I've been feeling on top of the world when I do implement these structures, and others where I felt like hiding my head in the sand and when I'm not implementing these structures. So I'm going to share with you all those. So what we'll cover, take time to create more time. So that's a big part of the process. Is I used to walk around saying I don't have time, and I've really helped reframe that with this process. Creating and sticking to healthy routines in times of turmoil. Again, that box that's around me is much stronger than it would have been if I didn't have these. Picking a goal and sticking to it. So this is an interesting one in these times. It's kind of funny on Facebook. I've seen these conflicting things where it's like, oh my God, I'm going to get all this stuff done. And then other people are like, I just stared at my leg for 45 minutes. Like, we don't have to all be overachievers. I think, man, but I think for me, like, I'm the kind of person that it really helps me if I have a goal of things that I'm up to, and I'm a little over halfway through one of my existing journals. So thankfully I've got that every day, looking at the goal that I've got towards the end of it, to have uncommon conversations about what it takes to be successful, live the next 91 days with a bang, work on mindset and system, and then, oh yeah, figure out a support structure to keep going. That's a big part, is to figure out what's going to help you keep going, even after you've set up some of the things we're going to set up today. So very quickly, I pulled out an old relic from the vaults for today's training. So, and some of y'all were there for me in the early days of this journey. So I created the journal. So about 3-4 years ago, a friend of mine invited me to a personal development seminar, like a seminar that was all about, how to have higher performance in life and how to change your mindset. And I really enjoyed it. And it kind of started me on a journey of reading, I read like 20 books in 1 year on subjects like habits, and took course after course about it, like just really immersed in it. But what was interesting was, and I was doing journaling too. So at the end of the day, I was doing all these things, but I kept feeling like they didn't work for me. Like, there was some great mindset stuff that was really helpful, but there wasn't a lot of systems, and I'm kind of a systems guy. And so I was like, these are really great about like helping with shifting who I'm being, but I'm still lacking like a system around it. So as I was going through all of it, I created a binder and this binder is full of amazing stuff, like notes, and I don't know if you can see it, notes and like printouts, and I'm like dropping stuff, printouts are falling out of it. And I started actually taking all the stuff I had learned, and I started structuring it in the structure of the handout that I emailed to everyone. And I apologize if that last minute sticky note announcement was a little bit late for people, but don't worry if you don't have it printed out. Don't worry if you don't have, like, you could do this on a Word document, what we're going to do today if you had to. If you don't have the printout, it's okay. You'll still be able to do it, because I know that, like, I was thinking, I almost sent out a guide that's like 100 pages long, and I was like, I can't do that right now. What if people can't get to the printers? What if people don't have paper? Like, I don't want people to feel like they're stuck. So I created the journal because I found that there weren't systems in place, and all the journals I was using, because I tried a lot of different ones, almost every single one of them was like, oh, you already know what you want. Like, let's base this journal around this goal that you already have. And so I found that I was using all the empty pages in the beginning to set a goal, and then I would start the journal. And I'm like, and so really at the end of the day, it was a year and a half ago, last December, my wife said to me, Galen, you don't get a lot of client work in December. Why don't you just go write this thing? So I basically locked myself in a room from 6 a.m. to noon, 4 days in a row, and just like cranked the whole thing out. And I've been using it. I am not just the president, I am also a client. If anyone remembers that old chestnut, trying to find my existing journal, the one I'm using right now. It's right next to me. This is the one I'm using right now. So morning and evening, and like the fancy little cover. So I'm on day 60 of my existing one. Anyways, so that's why I created it, and I'm happy to share with you, everyone. So, all right, a couple years ago, I'll show you a picture, and I've protected the identity of the people in it. That's protecting this. So there's me in the middle. I don't know if you can see it very well. So there's a time in my life a couple years ago when, by all external measures, I was experiencing success. Like, people who looked at me would have said, would have said, that dude's got it figured out. He's got a nice car. He's got a nice job. Like, I was winning awards at work. Like, a lot of people were like, dang, dude, like, you've got it. I was a recruiter, and I was like number 1 in the country in my company, or 1 or 3, I can't remember. And things are going really well. But on that, it looked like they're going well. But really at the time, what I ignored about my life was there was a huge sense of imbalance in my life, in that even though all these things were going well, I felt like I didn't have any control over my life. And the way that manifested itself the most was, I remember I would never set an alarm unless I absolutely had to. Like, I'm a pretty early riser in general. Most of my life I've gotten up early, but like, every day just didn't feel like getting out of bed, because I felt like once I got up, I was going to have to just like follow these train tracks that were laid out for me of go to work, eat out because I didn't have time to cook, let my kids do tons of electronics because I didn't have time to spend with them, or I was too exhausted from work. And one day it really hit me when I'm laying in bed and my kids come running in and they're like, Daddy, wake up, it's time to get up, let's play, let's do this. And I just laid there and I was just like, I just want you to go away. Like, I just want to keep sleeping. Like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do any of this stuff. And it's kind of, and I realized that something had to change. So a friend of mine, right around that time, just showed up at the right time, right? Like, what do they say? The teacher will appear when the student is ready. And he's like, Galen, you got to try journaling. Like, journaling has changed my life. And I was like, dude, like, journaling, that's like for Oprah and like Reese Witherspoon and like Dr. Oz. I don't know. Like, for those people, like, I'm not a dude who journals. I don't have time for that stuff. It's not going to help me. So he said, just try it out. So I tried it. I tried a couple of things, journaling and a few other things, and I'm going to talk about those. And I saw immediate results. I started getting up earlier. I started working out more. I started feeling like I had more time in the day. I started feeling like I was way more in control. So that box of control, like on the board, it like grew and it got like stronger. And it's really fantastic because right around that time, a huge shift happened in my life where I lost my job and I got laid off. I guess it's called restructured, might be the nice way to say it. But basically I went home one day and was like, yeah, I got to figure all this out. And I'm super grateful of having these structures in place. So, so the me from this picture, and I'm not going to get too crass about this, but the me in this picture, if the me in this picture from a couple years ago had met the me in this picture in the slide, so that's me in December. I was beating myself up because I was like, oh, I haven't done enough this year. And I was like, wait, let me look back at what I have done this year. And when I looked back at what I had done, I had published the journal and sold over $1,000 worth of sales with it. I started a junior youth group with the kids in my community. I got my CFP. I did 2 Olympic distance triathlons. I started 2, this isn't bragging, by the way, like I'm just saying this is what I was able to accomplish. I started 2 podcasts and a YouTube channel. What else is there? Oh yeah, a Facebook group for entrepreneurs that I grew from 0 to 1,000. I did all that. And it really is because of the things I'd put in place in my life to be able to do stuff like that. And so if me from the picture had met me from, like if me from this frame picture had met me from the future, I probably would have wanted to punch myself in the, you know what, because I was like, I didn't like meeting people who were getting a lot done in their lives and really happy about it, because it just made me wonder what I was doing wrong. All right. So today is about a couple things. One is setting a future goal and putting together structures around it to hit it, and then also to protect your mindset. So first off, I want to hear from people who here is working from home for the first time, who here has done it before, for whom is this new, for whom is this not new. Like, I just want to see, like, working from home for the first time, used to it, just want to hear from y'all, like where you're at with this whole shebang. Because I have been working from home for the last 3 years. My kids aren't usually home all day during this time. And it's actually kind of crazy. In the last little bit, I revamped my office. So for anyone who's not been watching me in a while, I've got like this nice backdrop. I got my whiteboard. I got my frame stuff. I've got 2 giant lights over here you can see kind of the reflection here. I need to move them a little bit. So we got people who've been working from home, kind of new, work from home for a bit, but now it was by choice. Now it's by mandate. That's true. Yeah. Like a lot of people I know have been working from home. They've done it before, but never like, this is the way I work. So been working from home for 8 years. Wow. Cool. So you're a pro. So the working from home and also I guess the other thing is, so other people used to it. And how many people are entrepreneurs or self-employed? Because that's another big thing. I feel like a lot of people worked everywhere, including the beach in Hawaii, work from home, but used to being heavily involved in the community and out in the world meeting new people. So being quarantined is an adjustment. Yeah, that's been huge. I mean, even I went running on the trail here and went biking with the kids on the trail. And I don't know if I was being hypersensitive, but like I even felt like as I was passing people on the trail, we were like trying to stay far away from each other. And I'm in this group of triathletes on Facebook, and one of them said in France they're not letting people run more than 2 miles outside of where they live or something like that. And so he had to do like a 13-mile run, 20K run, and he just did a bunch of loops in his neighborhood. Entrepreneur. Yeah. So I feel like, I mean, really what I do is usually people who are entrepreneurs, self-employed, are attracted to the work I do. But I do know like it's not everyone. Entrepreneur. Cool. So this is I'm self-employed. I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur, though. I had no idea what I'm doing, really. I thought that was part of being an entrepreneur, is not knowing what you're doing, or certainly feeling like it all the time. So this is one thing. So, okay, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is I've really been diving deep into what my journaling process does and how it's helped people. And I realized that one of the big things I see from people, because I've been thinking, why is it so hard for me and others to have a goal and to run with it? And the goal doesn't have to be like, quick thing. The goal doesn't have to be, that we're going over today, doesn't have to be work related. I have done journaling for exercise. I've done journaling for new number of ideal clients. Like, I've done it for a lot of different things. Projects, side projects, I've done it. So it doesn't have to be, and in all likelihood, after all this is over, my biggest goal is going to be losing weight, because somehow I think I'm going to gain quite a bit of weight. I was telling my wife I'm going to need a bigger onesie by the time all this is over, because I've been sitting around a lot. So the goal can be anything in your life that you think, anything that you can achieve in 91 days or less, that's what it can be. And when I've been looking at the core reason why it's hard for people like me to set a goal and stick with it, and I've been looking at that a lot, and I think one of the biggest things is fear of picking the wrong thing and regretting it. And what I've learned is, I'm on my 4th journal by now, I think. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5th or 6th. What I've learned is the process I take is going to help determine what that goal is. But it's also, I've learned that if I stick it out, like all those things I thought I should be doing, a lot of them just fade away, and the next thing becomes abundantly clear. But if I don't stick it out, I don't get there. And so I feel like fear is a big one. Fear of picking the wrong thing, fear of success, fear of failure, and fear of it not working. Like, I think that's another big one, is people don't want to put a lot of energy into something and see it not work. So we're going to talk about all that today. So I love this drawing. It's entrepreneur, and you don't have to be an entrepreneur to relate to this, I don't think, but it's like, if you want something in your life, you can either have an idea today and have that same idea, or you can do something about it and have some results from it. All right, so why squirrel? So squirrel journal is the name of my journal, and I've condensed a lot of it in today's training. And squirrel, I mean, it's a lot of different, like, it's 2 ways. One is, has anyone seen the movie Up? Doug the dog with the translator. Take a step and the next will appear. Yeah. Doug the dog. So I just rewatched that movie a bit ago with my kids. And it's really funny, because the first time I saw Up, I thought Pixar had kind of dropped the ball, like after a lot of really good movies. But actually, the second time I saw it, I really liked it. So there's a dog in Up who has a translator around his neck, so you can hear what he's saying. And he'll be mid-sentence. He'll be like, hey, we have to go find and he'll just go squirrel, and he'll look off in the distance. And then he'll kind of get back on track. And when I saw that movie, I'm like, man, I can really relate to that dog. Okay. And also squirrels themselves. Like, I live in a neighborhood with lots of squirrels. One just went by my window a minute ago. It's kind of funny. I see them scurrying around, and like, they're running across the street, and then they get halfway, and then they're like, the car's coming. Do I go back? Do I keep going? And they just like get paralyzed. That's also like the squirrel brain. And I'm just fascinated by squirrel brains, because I've got one, and I'm like, what can I do about it to see things to completion? So this is the best video of the squirrel mindset I've ever seen, or like squirrel reality. So just warning, I have tried to turn the volume down on this, but it's come in kind of loud. So you may want to just like lower your volume before I hit start on this video. But this is a video. It's from a show called Malcolm in the Middle. The dad, Bryan Cranston. Anyway, it's self-explanatory, but it's from Malcolm in the Middle. If you've never seen the show, it's just about like a family, a mom and dad and 3 boys, and just all the things that happen. And I'm going to hit play. It might be a little bit loud when it starts, so if you're wearing headphones, kind of pull them off your ear a little bit. I tried to adjust the volume coming in, but we'll see.
Replace that light bulb in the kitchen? What does it look like I'm doing?
Oh man, I love that. I'm not sure how I stumbled upon that, but someone posted it, and it's kind of funny. Even me doing this webinar, let me get back to the slides. Even me doing this webinar was a little bit like that. I was going through. I was emailing all my clients because my day job is financial advisor, and obviously people are wondering what's going on. And I thought, you know what, I should really do a webinar. And so I had the email open, and I'm like, I'm going to do a webinar, and I figured out all the webinar software. I got everything figured out. I got like the emails and everything. And then like a day later, I was able to actually finish sending the email because I wanted people to know about this webinar. And so it's pretty funny. He's going to change the light bulb, and then it's like, you know, he needs to fix the the shelf, then he needs to fix the drawer, then he needs to get the WD-40, then he needs to fix the car. And if anyone relate to that, like, I swear, every time I open my phone with a purpose to do something, I feel like next thing you know, I'm putting it down 5 minutes later. And I didn't I didn't do the thing. Like, I'll be like, oh, I got a text message yesterday, I forgot to answer. And I'll pick up my phone, turn it on. I think phones are designed to do this, like designed to distract us from what we wanted to do. All these notifications are up, and I'm like, oh, I gotta answer all these notifications. Put the phone down, and then I'm like, wait, why did I pick up my phone in the first place? So I feel like that's a lot my life every single day. Oh, it's so true. Like, oh man, so many examples. So I love that video. It's just perfect. It's everything I try to get done. Okay. So we talked a little bit about this. What gets in the way from hitting that goal and what to do about it? So fear, imposter syndrome, fear of failure, fear of success. Fear of success is one that I didn't have any notion of until recently. Or I shouldn't say recently, about a year, 2 years ago, I was reading a book and I saw this word in it. This quote. I'm going to read it because the text might be a little bit small, and it's by Marianne Williamson. She's got a lot of great quotes, but this is about fear of success to a certain extent. So it says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So I read that quote a couple years ago, and I remember I just about like fell down when I read that quote, because I was like, what on earth? Like, that is so true. Because I always thought that I had this huge fear of failure, which I probably do, but also like this, I was like, what do you mean fear of success? Like, what does that even look like? And this quote just hit hard for me, like, you know, and just like, yeah, just in the comments, you know, it's hard not to feel guilty right now about having a level of success. And I'm in a lot of like digital masterminds. That's helping me get through this. Is I run one, I'm a part of two others. And a big topic of conversation has been, you know, people who are already digital, like myself, like I've been digital for a while. Most of my client meetings happen online. You know, what are we doing right now? Like, do we just pretend everything's normal? Do we keep, you know, what do we do? Do we adapt? Do we talk a little bit less about what we're doing? So it's something to think about. And this is another one, Impostor Syndrome. It's a quote I love from Maya Angelou. She says, I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody, and they're going to find me out. I find that fascinating. Maya Angelou, one of the most accomplished authors in the world, dealing with imposter syndrome. It's funny, the other day, I haven't delved deep enough to like say that I believe this with certainty, but I heard someone in one of my digital groups say, what did they say? They said, it's only imposters who don't feel imposter syndrome. I don't know if that's true or not, but I kind of thought about that, and I'm like, interesting. Like, because if I knew I was an imposter, I wouldn't have the syndrome. I wouldn't be worried. I'd be like, well, yeah, I'm an imposter. Okay, cool. So now we're going to dive deep into the goal setting, the writing out. Like I said, if you didn't have a chance to print out the guide, that's okay. We're going to go through it page by page. You can fill it out on a piece of paper if you didn't have a printer. You know, I know that circumstances are a little bit wild for people right now. So you can have it on a piece of paper. Now, this one, you don't have to write it out. But what was your favorite memory in the last 3 months? Like, just to think about what was something that happened in the last 3 months that you just loved the way it happened, And then the next question is what would make the next 91 days a win for you? So it's actually funny. We are doing this on a quarter. So we are looking at 91 days as being pretty darn close to the midway point of the year. I hadn't even planned that. So let me say it in the chat. What's your favorite memory of the last 3 months? And then what would make the next 91 days a win for you? So favorite memory in the last 3 months, I'll share. I haven't even thought about this. What are we in now? March. So January, February, March. Man, memory. Like I'm honestly having some great, well, okay, I'll just say it. Yeah. So spending a lot of time with my kids last little bit because they're home. I'm home. My wife's home. Everyone's home. And my favorite memory is just my daughter wanting me to read to her at night the other night. And it was really funny. My daughter is not an affectionate kid. She will, like, when her grandparents go to hug her, she'll say hug. She'll say hug, hug, instead of actually giving them a hug. Like, she's not super affectionate. But the other night, we'd been reading. We'd been playing the whole day together. And she was just so over the moon happy. And she was going to bed, and she just couldn't stop hugging me, couldn't stop telling me she loved me. And I was like, aw. And it was just pretty incredible. And like I said, I think my kids are going to look back at this as one of the best times of their lives because we were just home all the time. All right. So when exploring Australia with my partner, wow. Restarting making bad art for the joy of it, getting the funding renewal, when going to Vero Beach, Florida, having my business survive this economic madness that has become our new norm. Yeah. Watching my boys drink sap directly from the tree they had tapped with their uncle the day before. Cool. Obviously a Canadian there. Someone offered to tap some trees in my yard, and we just didn't get around to it before all this craziness hit. Yeah. And then win. Sorry, I was kind of mixing up the wins and the favorites. But yeah, getting the funding renewal. Got it. Win. Yes. Having business survive, of course. And I think a lot of us are obviously in a similar situation, having our business survive what's going on. And it's interesting because I've thought of changing the window of this, but I thought, 91 days works really well. And I said, I'm not going to shorten that because 91 days is still, it's popping up ever since I made this journal. It's popping up everywhere. I'm seeing one of my favorite authors, Nick Murray, wrote a book in 1996, I think it was. And it said, I believe everything can be accomplished in a 90-day sprint or a series of 90-day sprints. And I was like, what? And it just kept popping up. So I was like, there's something about that 90. I'll talk about why it's 91 in my case. Another win would be working with new clients digitally instead of in person like I'm used to. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting because I've been a digital. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm a financial planner. And 3 years ago, I went from a corner office to the corner of my dining room table. Well, actually, now I have all this going on like home office wise, but I basically went digital because I didn't want to spend a lot of money on, starting up my own office and all this stuff. And it's really funny because a lot of people are coming to me now and being like, Galen, have you done this for the last couple of years? Like, what's going on? And yes, there's all the tech stuff, but really today we're going to talk about how to build that box around your productivity and your mindset. All right, perfect. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do this. Okay, so this is the hardest part of the whole thing, but we're going to do it really, really well. Is that we're going to brainstorm what we want to get done over the next 91 days. And I know that we're in a state of flux, but I really feel that if we're able to pick out something and work on it, so it's something that you want to accomplish in the next 91 days, and you're going to give yourself time to brainstorm and write it out. And I don't want you to edit. So I'm going to set a timer, and there's a sheet that's all about brainstorming. You can use a blank sheet of paper, and it's going to be all about what you want to accomplish. And at the end of it, you'll pick one thing. But before that, you'll write a whole bunch of things. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to grab a sticky note. Sorry, give me 1 second. I apologize. Okay. Okay. So here, we should be, my slides are slightly out of order. Sorry. Okay, so the brainstorming page, you can use a blank piece of paper for this, and it's basically what you want to accomplish in the next 91 days. And I mean, it can be like it could be anything right now. It could be anything, to be honest. And what I'm going to do though, and part of what this training is to take a minute to really think about it and give yourself like the space and the quiet, if you can, if you don't have kids running around or someone else running around, to really think about what's important to you and fill it out. So I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to set it. The page says 20 minutes. We're going to do it for 10. And what I'm going to say is that it's funny because I've done this live, and the first time I did it live, I myself was setting a goal. And I remember looking at this other person that was just like writing furiously. And I was just thinking like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Am I writing the right thing? But I was in a personal development course and they were talking about this sort of goal setting brainstorming. And the guy who was leading the session came to the room. This was a room of like executives. And he came to the room and all he brought with him was a spray bottle of like water. And he said, we're going to do a brainstorming session. Everyone throw out your ideas. Give us your ideas. Put your ideas on the table. As a business who was going through some hard times. So people started throwing out ideas. And like the third or fourth idea after that, someone said, oh, but that won't work because, and he like took out the spray bottle and he sprayed the person. And he's like spraying like the CEO of this company. And he said, bad kitty, bad kitty. And he's like, no, don't, like, we're brainstorming. We're just getting ideas out there. And he's like, don't stop the flow. Like, don't interrupt it. Just brainstorm, let yourself go. And he's like, because a lot of the good ideas don't come until people have had a chance to feel safe. And I find that, there's that saying, write drunk, edit sober. It's purported to be from Hemingway. I don't know if I found that any actual verification of that. And the idea is that you just brainstorm and like let yourself go. Throw in the kitchen sink. Like a writer friend of mine talks about writing, and there's a talk about it, and it says, you take all your ideas are like, you take all the dirty dishes and you put them in the sink, and you put the sink in, and then you fill the sink with water, and you let the water overflow. Like, you just let it go. So I'm going to set a timer. And does anyone have any questions about this goal setting? So I'll recap what we're about to do. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. If you have the printout, do it on this page. If you don't have the printout, you can do it on a piece of paper. If you don't have paper, you can do it on a Word document. And I'm going to set a timer. And for 10 minutes, they're going to let people just brainstorm what they want to accomplish 91 days from today. So just picture yourselves 91 days from today, whatever date that is, and what you want to have accomplished in the next 91 days. And it can be from the sense of, I see people putting in wins, like their big win is going to be everyone gets through this. Their big win is going to be their business gets through this. And so just take the time to do that. So I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to put it in different, should be able to share it in a window. If anyone has any questions, please let me know because I can see your questions as needed. All right, expand this. Oh yeah, the other thing I'll say is, even if it feels long, just keep going. If you still got ideas, keep writing them. I remember the first time I did this, it felt really long, and but it was really worth it because a lot of really great ideas started coming out towards the end. All right, so let me set the timer. I should be able to share. If I can't share it, I'll just set it. I have a timer. Oh, here we go. Turn screen share on. There we go. Boom. All right, hit it. Brainstorm. I'm going to brainstorm a few things while everyone else is, and also be quiet. All right, perfect. So, one thing I always want to know is like, how did people feel about that? Did anyone feel? Because when I brainstorm, traditionally I get pretty overwhelmed by all the different things I want to do, and I start freaking out. But the fun part is actually honing in on the one thing. So, I want to hear from people. One is that one thing that they're looking to get done in the next 91 days. Um, Ronald wrote me. He said he wants to launch a course for couples having a challenge with being together 24/7 right now. He's almost done writing it, but he has to build out the funnel for it and film himself and load the stuff into Thinkific. Cool. So yeah, I see a lot of people creating things right now based on what's going on, especially people in the digital space can pivot quickly, potentially in what's going on. So let me know what you've picked as that big goal you need to get done. Yeah. So someone just wrote, I had one item really jump at me, which I was surprised about. I want to write a children's book. Very cool. I've had that happen a lot when I do this, especially live with people or myself. Like I'll just be writing. And so that's the idea is that if you've got that one thing that just kept kind of rising to the surface, one thing, when you were able to tune out like distraction, able to look at a blank page and really like go at what you want to get done. I find that it pops up. Things like that pop up. It's like the muse. There's a book called The War on Art by Stephen Pressfield, which is amazing. And he talks about the muse speaking to us at times. And I feel like in a lot of my life, I'm too busy to hear what the muse, the inspiration has to say to me. And when I take those times, I'll just talk a little bit about what I got. So, I'm in the middle of a journal right now, so on my way, but my goal is to have 6 new doctor clients in the next 91. Well, my 91 day goal is to get 6 new ones. And I have 3 so far. Well, 3 on the way. With things being the way they are, it's I've had to adapt a little bit. Sending out a lot of digital paperwork. But I was looking at some of the things I could be doing to get me closer to that goal. So I am. Let me see how many days in I am. 60. I got 31 days left, and been a little bit distracted with the last couple of weeks from that core goal, but it's still completely doable because people are reaching out to me a lot right now, knowing that I'm an advisor that works digitally. But basically looking at sharing my goal with people, like our overarching goal this year is to have 21 new doctors by 2021. So hashtag 21 by 21. So share those in the groups. So really at the end of the day, what I really focused on, which obviously makes sense, is just beefing up my digital presence. I've got a website where people can download guides. I have a Facebook group. I have a YouTube channel, all that stuff. But I haven't been using that. I've had it going on and off, but I haven't had it really focused towards that one main goal. So it's basically the next 30 days is really honing in on making the most of the digital things I have going on, but to get me closer to that goal. So yeah, if you got any goals, throw them in there. I'd love to see, because the whole idea now is to take that goal and to break it down into steps and then break it down into morning and evening as you go so that you've got like a tangible approach to getting that done. All right, getting the slides back up here. Okay. Oh yeah, this is my favorite part. I almost forgot about this. So one of the things when I do this exercise is as I'm writing, so there's that saying here, I'll go back to it, write drunk, edit sober. So it's kind of funny, I don't drink. And I was at a coffee shop a while back and talking about how hard it is for me to write things. Like, so type out, like when I'm writing a guide or a Facebook post or whatever, sometimes I get into this mindset of not being able to write quickly. And it's because I'm self-censoring. Like I'm just like getting too worried about what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. So the person said, oh, the saying, write drunk, edit sober. And I took it way too literally. I was like, well, I don't drink. And she just kind of stared at me like, this guy might not be the sharpest tool in the shed. And she's like, it doesn't mean literally write drunk. It just means just write and then edit. And actually, I find that fascinating. Like for anyone here who's written things, has anyone else experienced connection issues. Sorry, I don't know if anyone else saw a connection issue there, but I kind of lost it for a second. Anyone have the experience where they write and got a chat here? Yeah, so I write and I'm self-editing and it's really like not working for me. And so Writing Down the Bones is an amazing book for learning how to separate your writer, creator, and editor. Awesome. Writing Down the Bones. I'll have to check that out. And they said, Write Drunk, Edit Sober. And so has anyone here had the experience where you write something and then like a month later, a week later, you look back at it and you're like, whoa, did I write that? Like that happens to me all the time where I'll write something and in the moment I'm like, I don't know if this is any good. And then I look at it like a month later and I'm like, whoa, like I'm a really insightful guy. Actually, my scroll journal is a little bit like that. When I look back at it, I'm like, did I really write that? Like, was that really me? But it's like, I type and there are spelling errors, grammar issues, but I just get all the thoughts out, then go back and fine tune. Yeah. And like now that I do that, like, so I've written 4 articles, or I've been featured in the Globe and Mail. I think this last one was my 4th time. And they asked me, yes, impressed with myself. Good. It's fun to be impressed with yourself. So Globe and Mail, 4 times that I've been featured by them. And each time I've been featured, like they've asked me, hey, Galen, could you chime in on this topic of lifestyle creep or finance for young couples or going digital? And I remember the first couple times I did it, it would take me like a day and a half to write just a page because I was just so obsessed over how it sounded. And now I can usually crank it out in like half an hour and then go back and edit and I'm good with it. So it's like, or even a guide. A lot of you, if you've been with me in the scroll journal journey early on, I used to have a 48-hour guide, Jumpstart to Productivity. We're going to talk about that. Anyways, I set myself a timer for 45 minutes. I said, whatever I get done in 45 minutes, that's what I'm going to keep. And I set a timer and I actually finished in 38 minutes. And then I just went back and edited and cleaned up the layout and it was done. And it was something I'd been obsessing over weeks. Anyways, Write Drunk, Edit Sober. So one of the things that pops up for me as I'm doing that is I think, I want to do this thing. And immediately another part of my brain comes in and says, no, like you can't do that. Who are you to think you can do that? And I used to think it was just me. I used to think it was like a big problem. I don't think it's a big problem anymore because I know how to deal with it now. But so what we're going to do is we're going to take a minute, and I apologize if you don't have a sticky note. It's okay if you don't. You can do it on a piece of paper. You can do it on an index card. So what I want you to do is if you've been able to pick that big goal, and so I'm going to put mine as like getting more clients. So getting my next 3 clients digitally. That's my goal. So I'm going to think about that goal, but on the sticky note, I'm going to think of, so first off, think about what that big goal is. So me getting 3 more doctor clients digitally, and I'm picturing it. So I'm picturing it. So picture your goal, picturing my goal. My goal is that doctors are reaching out to me. I'm answering their emails, being introduced by other friends, by clients, and they're reaching out to me and they're talking to me and they're becoming clients. Like I can see it happening. I can see the face-to-face video calls. I can see the phone calls, everything. I can see sending them the digital applications. Feel it. So you've pictured it. Now your goal, feel what your goal feels like, having accomplished it. How do you feel? So let's see that in the chat. Like how do people, so think of the goal that you want to accomplish. How will you feel having accomplished this goal? So for me, I'm going to feel accomplished. I'm going to feel like triumphant because anyways, I'm not going to go into that yet, but I'm going to feel triumphant. I'm going to feel accomplished, proud, like a lot of really good stuff. So at the same time, as I'm thinking that, and I pause myself because I'm starting to go into it, there's an annoying little voice inside of my head that comes up at the same time as I say that I'm going to do all these amazing things that tells me I can't do it. And what I've learned is that voice is usually saying things, a sentence, and it helps me if I put it in a sentence of I'm not, or, like Galen's not blank enough. Galen doesn't have enough blank, or the world is blank, or right now things are blank. So I'll give an example. So I'm thinking about my next 3 doctor clients coming to me online. It's actually quite fascinating because usually it's more of an internal thing, but right now I'm feeling more of an external thing because of what's happening. So I'm just thinking like for me, what's popping up for me is doing business is hard right now. What I'm saying is people don't want to make changes right now. Like that's what's going on in my head. I don't have enough time or resources, like, or like right now what I'm thinking is I'm not well known enough to get those people to sign up for me, or I'm not famous enough for those people to sign up for me. So let me know, put in the chat, what are the things that are popping up for you as far as what's coming up for you is for anything that might stop you from getting that big goal done. Like is there that voice coming up and saying, yeah, you could do that, but you don't have this, you're not this enough, you don't have enough of this, the world is a certain way. And what I want you to do is take it and write it on the sticky note, the things that you're saying about yourself or about the world. Everything I just said, or all the things that are paralyzing me. Is that because you're a fellow digital advisor going through the world right now? So I'm going to write the things I said. I'm not organized enough. I don't have enough self-push for when I'm not feeling motivated. Yeah. So I'm going to write the things I'm thinking. So the thing is like, I'm not established enough. Yeah, I'm not, people are, it's another one. People are afraid to change right now. And I'm just going to say one thing. It's later on, but I'm going to talk about it right now. I've actually have evidence to prove myself wrong, because I have had people reaching out to me right now and saying, Galen, I really need to talk to you because I haven't taken care of this part of my life, and things that are going on right now are making me think that I need to. So it's even funny that I'm saying these things that I have evidence that they're not even true. But that's the next step. So I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm not established enough. People are afraid to change right now. I went online too late, which is crazy because I'm way ahead of the curve, whatever. I'll just say like the world is crazy right now. That's really what I'm feeling. So yeah, I'm brand new and not a big client base and suffering extreme imposter syndrome. Yeah, I'm actually, yeah, not enough money. Yeah. I'm actually interviewing someone on Saturday about imposter syndrome. She's a life coach that helps people get through imposter syndrome. I'll share the interview. It'll be a podcast episode. But what's fascinating is she said that kids have fear, but they don't have imposter syndrome. And she said it's at some point in our life that we suddenly have imposter syndrome. And I can actually think to the first time I felt, at least as far as I remember, imposter syndrome. So I can't wait to talk to her in an interview about that. Because that's another thing I asked in a Facebook group I run of 1,000 entrepreneurs. And I said, what keeps you from hitting your goals or reaching out for your goals? And a lot of them said imposter syndrome. And my wife, Emma, she makes infographics. She made one about imposter syndrome. And it was the most viewed thing she's ever made. It was shared a few times, but I think it reached like 100 and something thousand people. She made a simple infographic about imposter syndrome. So what I want you to do is, whether you did it on a sticky note or somewhere else. So this is where I wrote all those negative beliefs that I'm not established enough. I went online too late. The world is too crazy right now. People are afraid to change right now. And what I'm going to do, so I got this from another personal development thing. So what I'm going to tell you to do is crumple it up. Don't tear it up, because I've been in things that they did tear it up. And I picked a bad sticky. I picked the kind that's sticky all the way around the back. And so it's going to be hard to uncrumple. So what I want you to do is I want you to crumple it up in your fist. And I want you to hold it really tight. And so these are the things that you're believing about the world that's going to keep you from getting what you want in the world. So hold it really, really tight in your hand. And we're going to squeeze it for a while. So if anyone else has any more that's popping up of things. So we've got not organized enough, so squeeze it tight. I don't have enough self-push for when I'm not feeling motivated. I'm brand new. I'm an imposter. I don't have enough money. Keep keep squeezing and squeeze even tighter. And this balled up list of things that you're telling yourself that are going to keep you from getting what you want in life, and squeeze it. We're just going to squeeze it for a little bit longer, a couple more seconds. Going to do like 10 hard as you can for 10 more seconds. 9, 8. Oh, hurts. 6. I'm going to skip some numbers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, now let go. Oh, ow. Ah. So does it actually hurt to let go of these things? It hurts for me. So like, as my hand is unraveling, kind of did some damage there. It actually is painful for me to release it. And it's also like these things that I'm writing are like a comfort blanket, because if I try for what I want in life and don't get it, I can always blame this list of things. And this list of things, like I said, is I'm trying to unfurl mine, but it's all stuck. It's like a comfort blanket to be like, well, of course I didn't get those 3 doctor clients. I'm not established enough, or the world is crazy right now. And I'm not minimizing what's happening in the world right now, like at all. But what this exercise is supposed to do is to refocus on what we can control and reframe what we can't control. And so it hurts to let them go, actually, because as much as I hate the limiting beliefs I have around myself in my life, there's a level of comfort to saying that that's what's keeping me from getting what I want. And so I've got my super crumpled up list right now. And so I've been parts of the program where they said to tear it up and throw it away. I don't tear mine up or throw it away. What I do is I stick it, and you don't have a journal, but you can stick it to the front of the guide if you're able to print it out, or put it somewhere where you can see it regularly, because if you're anything like me or working from the same spot for the next little bit, keep it, because this is not gone forever. These thoughts, because like these thoughts aren't true. The things that I'm saying, I can find evidence that they're not true. I can find evidence of people that were able to pull off incredible things during times of difficulty. And personally, I'm going to stick it. Actually, I'm not going to stick it to the front of my squirrel journal, because I don't actually see the front of my squirrel journal every day. I'm going to stick it right here where I'm going to see it every day next to my schedule. And because it's going to be a reminder that what I'm saying is going to keep me from getting what I want. Is it true? Or is it just something that I'm saying because it's comforting? So does that make sense? Was everyone able to see the relationship that those things have with the way we believe around the way the world works? So that big goal, picture it, feel it, and then think about what tells you that you can't get it. All right. Crumpled it up. Did I spell crumple right? Crumple. All right, cool. Now, I set the timer. Okay, so we've got just a couple more slides about processes during the day to put into place using the next couple pages that you printed out. So if you've got your top goal, you write it down, and in case you can't read it, and in case you don't have the printout, I'll just say what it is. So you just pick that top goal and you write down, I'll find this page in my journal, you write down a description. So in one spot, you write down a description of the goal, so you know what it is quickly, how you'll feel once it's accomplished, and then give it a unique name. So don't stress over the name. Mine is hashtag 22 and 21 by 21. And I'm going to feel amazing, and I'm going to have 6 new doctors before the end of this 91 days. Wow, it was really fascinating to look back at what I wrote 50 something days ago. That's really cool. Interesting. So you write it down in there. A description of the goal, how you're going to feel, and a unique name that you can remember it by. So mine turned into a hashtag, which a lot of names do these days, 21 by 21. All right, step 3. What are the top tasks to hit your goal, and who can you get on your team? So the next page is a list of tasks that it's going to take. So for me to hit. So it's just, you're just going to take the tasks you need to do so that you can break it down into something that's manageable rather than this whole big giant thing that you have to do. So mine was, I needed to get some videos done for my website. I needed to get some emails ready. I needed to reach out to people in my network to invite the doctors they know to watch my videos, to do Facebook Lives, and to every Friday reach out to doctors to see, to get them to look at my videos and to see if they want to work with me. So breaking these down into tangible steps then helps you then focus on a specific part of that each time. So you write down the task, you write down whether it's low, medium, or high importance, and then you're going to break that down into which ones you want to get done first. So this is one that I've done. So 91 days is 13 weeks, but it's really hard to plan 13 weeks out. So I usually just do the first couple of weeks. So for me, it was finish my website or funnel. So it was week 1 is funnel, week 2 is funnel. Week 3 for me was getting more traffic from my email list, sending out letters, making phone calls. And so it's basically, the idea is you take those tasks, the ones that you're really going to focus on in the next bit, and put them in those first couple weeks, because those are the things that are going to get you some real big wins really quickly towards that goal. All right. So week 1, the Scamper. So all the weeks in the full journal each week has a squirrel related action, like Scamper. I can't remember what this Sprint, I think, are the other ones. So the idea is, like, what are the big 3 things? Like a 91 days can seem super long, can seem like a really long time to get things done. But if you break it down into the 3 big tasks to get done each week, and then come back and look at those tasks as to schedule them out in the week and see when you got them done, when you're going to get them done. It helps you figure out, so task 1, task 2, task 3, and at the end of the week you can look back and be like, did I get these done or not? All right, so now I've given everyone a couple of pages, so feel free to, I just sent out, I wanted to make the PDF small because I didn't want to burden people with like a potentially big printout to have to deal with. So I put in 1 morning and 1 evening, and I don't usually tell people they can do this when I'm just giving away the free version, but I understand the times are different right now. For anyone who needs to print that out repeatedly to get them through the next couple of weeks or however long, feel free to do so, printing out the morning and evening as many times as needed. And I'm just going to talk briefly, like, so this is the final part of this, is talking about the days, the structure during the day that's going to help, you know, with that box I said, like keeping that box around my protecting my daily activities and like feeling like I have control over the day. And there's a couple things in there that really made the difference for me, which was, and I'm going to go into them. So if you pull up the day, so for example, so a sample entry from the journal, evening. Does anyone need any more time to write stuff down? Someone just wrote and they're like, hey, I'm busy scribbling note goals and stuff. Let me know how you're doing. If you have any questions, if you need more time to write any notes, I'll take a quick sip of coffee and show off my mug. When I do this live, it's a little bit easier to tell where people are at. All right, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on those daily things. So the way that I think of it, like I said, it's like I'm building this structure around me that has helped me get through these times when everything seems kind of crazy. I'm like, well, I can count on these things in my life every day because I have control over them. So one of the reasons it's a 91 day, not just because I want it to be different. One reason, so if anyone's, so my journal is a 91 day journal. The reason it's 91 is because I start in the evening. Because one of the things I've learned, if nothing else, is that you win tomorrow tonight. By taking some time tonight to plan tomorrow, it's a huge change in dynamic in my life when I take the time to do that. It doesn't take long. It takes a couple minutes, but it really helps. And so for anyone who's self-employed, or at this time having to have an extra level of accountability towards themselves, one of the biggest things I've learned is boss hat, employee hat. So I was in a training once and they said, and I've definitely felt this as a self-employed person, like sometimes I'm like, I just wish I had a job again. Like, I just wish I had a job where someone just told me what to do every day. And if I didn't do a good job, they fired me. No, because sometimes it's like, oh, I got to figure out what I'm going to do every day. I don't punch a clock. I don't have someone standing there telling me what to do. Like, oh, do more of this, do less of that. And as nice as that can sound in theory, it can be really tiring. So boss hat is the coolest thing about boss hat. So it's at the top of the evening one. It's like put on your boss hat and pick 4 things. So what you do is you pick 4 things that you're going to get done the next day that are going to move you towards your goal. Now, quick caveat for anyone who's doing this as a side hustle, I recommend that you still do 4, but 2 of the things are for what your main life business is, and 2 are for your side hustle, because it gets really hard to find time to do 4 things for a side hustle. And these 4 things are 4 focused sessions towards that goal. And we're going to talk about that, but focus sessions are anywhere from 45 minutes is a pretty good start of a focused time to work on something. So the boss hat, employee hat is this. At night, you put on your boss hat. So your boss hat, and you say, what do I need my employee to do tomorrow to move us towards our goal? And you pick 4 things. And the rule of the 4 things is they have to be things that'll move the business forward. You can't care whether the employee wants to do it or not, but they are meaningful. And then the next day, you wake up and you put on your employee hat. And this has been super valuable for me over the last couple of years, honestly. Like, I was in a course and I don't remember anything else they taught me, but I do remember this. Put on the employee hat in the morning and just do the stuff. Just like if you had a job, and I mean, I know I'm focusing a lot on self-employed people here, but it's also for your side hustle. I mean, if you have a side hustle, no one's paying you to do your side hustle. No one's telling you what to do. So it's a similar situation. The idea is that, you wake up with that employee hat on and you just do what you were told to do. And the beauty of it is, if you're self-employed, like with a regular job, you go, you do the work, the people pay you. You might make a ton of money for the business, but they're just going to give you some of it back. When you're self-employed, you get to keep a lot more of those efforts. So that's the boss hat. The second thing is you schedule your day. So you put in when you're going to do those 4 sessions. And for me, I have to take an extra deep breath when I look at things, and I have to be realistic, because when I put things that I'm going to get done at, especially now the kids are home, I'm honestly getting a lot of stuff done in the evenings after they go to bed, usually 2 hours in the evening, even though that's not my preferred thing. My preferred thing is to do them in the morning. But that's what I've been doing, is saying, hey, I'm going to do these things at night. So putting them in places where you're actually going to get it done. You schedule your day and you schedule buffer times, and then you complete the page. Now there's blank spots, and the blank spots are there's another thing I didn't like about the journals I was doing, is they were telling me everything that I was supposed to do that was in line with what worked for them. And what I'm going to say is, for me, you can pick things from these different columns of brain. So brain is like reading or a game or something. Health is like if there's something that you need to do with, one of my things for health is drinking water every morning. And then body. So if there's something you need to do from an exercise standpoint, or relationships, like if you need to, I mean, this can be simple stuff like tucking my kids in at night, or writing a thank you note to my wife, like simple things, but that help with different aspects of my life. So just to give you an example, like in my thing, I have stretch, pray, plan my workout for the next day, do my sleep affirmation, and make sure I drink a lot of water. Getting some feedback. Love the boss hat versus employee idea. Yeah, it's like the best thing I've ever learned about this whole journey. So you pick your things, so the top 3 are there, like the boss hat, the scheduling the day, and completing the page. Those are there every day. But then you fill out the things that you need to do for yourself. Like, I like reading in the morning. I don't like reading in the evening, so I put that as part of my morning routine. I do I fill out the journal. That's why I complete the pages in there. I have to pick out my 4. Other things I do at night, plan my workouts at night. I check that off. Make sure I've drank enough water. I check that off at night. And then the things to celebrate from the day, like, and there's a quote on gratitude later on, but it's like, gratitude is huge, rewires the brain. There's science that's starting to show that when you find gratitude, you'll find more of it. When you find reasons to be grateful. Challenges faced today. What are the things that you did today that you wish you'd done differently? Or I shouldn't say wish you'd done differently, but like, what are the challenges you faced? What was the impact of the challenges? What you'll do better tomorrow? Affirmations, we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then visualize tomorrow with your employer hat on. So visualization is huge. That's why when I say you set your goal, think about what it'll look like and how you'll feel. Visualization is massive. They did a study on people. They asked people, excuse me, to think about their future selves. And they were doing a brain scan. They said, think about your future self. Now think about a stranger. And the brain scan showed the same part of the brain lit up for the future self. So me thinking about future Galen, my brain uses the same part of my brain for future Galen as it does for a stranger. And one of the things that helps you like shorten that gap, because that's one of the reasons why people can't attain goals is they don't relate to that future self that's going to accomplish the goal, is by visualizing. So visualizing the goal at the 91 days, but also tomorrow. So I visualize, I'm like, I'm going to get up early tomorrow. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to come home. I'm going to do this. And then bold requests, second favorite, boss hat, employee hat. Bold requests are amazing. So blessings and gratitude is huge. Absolutely. Bold requests is another game changer. I took a course, and it's the only thing I remember from the course is bold requests. Bold requests is anything that you're going to request of someone else outside of your comfort zone. So my wife doesn't actually know this, but she is almost always on my bold request list because I hate. Raise your hand. Anyone else here hate asking for help? Anyone? Lone wolves? Hashtag lone wolf in the house. I hate asking people for help. Which is a sentence I need to work on. But I think I should be able to do things on my own. I don't think I should have to ask for help for anything. So it can be as simple as asking, like I asked Emma, like, what did I ask her? I asked her to help me test out the webinar today. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't have to ask her this, but I'm going to ask her. And so it's 2 bold requests out of my comfort zone that are going to help me get closer to my goal. And I tell you, make 2 requests a day for 2 bold requests a day for 30 days, 90 days. It's a game changer, like huge game changer. So I got someone here. It's hard for me to ask for help. I have no trouble asking partner for help, but have a hard time asking others. Interesting. Cool. So what I do is the night before I write, what's the bold request I'm going to make and what's the result going to be? So one of the ways I'm taking advantage of these strange times is I'm asking people to be on my podcast that I wouldn't normally ask in the hopes that they have a little bit more extra time. So I wrote Gretchen Rubin, Brene Brown, Hal Elrod, Myron Golden. Who else did I write? I was going to write Jen Sincero, but I didn't. But anyways, 4 or 5, like people that I normally wouldn't have, but I was just like, whatever, let's just see what they say. I found their contact info. I DM'd them on Instagram. I'm like, what are they going to say? So those are my bold requests yesterday. I think I made like 4 or 5. Cool. So let's talk about the morning. All right. So morning is very similar. You cross off the day on the tracker. So one of the first pages you should have gotten was a tracker page. So mine looks like this because I've crossed off a bunch of days. You cross off the day in the tracker, what day you're on. You write, like I said, the checking off of the morning. You cross the tracker off. You put your employee hat on, and you complete the page. So the countdown, in 90 days, I will have blank. So in mine, in 90 days, I'll have 6 new doctor clients. Affirmations, we're going to talk about affirmations. So affirmations is one of those things that's been a game changer for me, but it's one of those things that I was like, I'm not the kind of guy who does that. Like that sounds like there's a thing in SNL in the 90s. It was, I don't even remember his name anymore. It was like this guy who's like looking in the mirror and he's like, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. Like that was my vision of like affirmations. Just kind of like a weird thing, but actually I love them now. And so what I'm going to say about affirmations is, I think I have a slide on them. Let's go to the slide. Okay, yeah. So Affirmations. So usually the way that I create affirmations is I look at the limiting belief, and it's almost always a limiting belief around time or resources or ability. A lot of these things that showed up on my sticky note. So I create affirmations as an antidote to them. And I'll help you with a few. Like I have one around time that's helped me immensely. So I used to run around saying, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. And sure enough, I never had time because that's all I did was run around all day and say, I don't have time. And of course I never did because I was like, that's the kind of world I live in. I don't have time for these things. And then I took an affirmation and I said, that was a false belief. And I created the affirmation of, I create all the time necessary to make my dreams come true. And when I first started saying it, I didn't believe it, but little by little, I started believing it. And now I completely believe it. And it's part of that picture of me with like all that stuff, the squirrel journal and the podcast episodes. Like since I changed that mindset, I have found time to do a lot of things that I just simply before said I don't have time for, because that was that comfort blanket I was holding of time. And a really important thing is at the end of the day, collecting evidence that affirmation is true. So evidence at the end of the day, for example, on time is I still had time to go for a jog. I still had time to drop my kids off at school, which right now, obviously I'm not dropping them off at school, but like last night, I remember at the end of the day, it was like I had a chance to play with my kids. I worked for 2 hours on the webinar. I still had a chance to email a bunch of clients, like the time affirmations, and it starts chipping away at it. So now I say it like it's no big deal. Like the first times I used to say this, I was like, I'm full of bleep because there's no such thing as creating time. And now I totally believe I create time. So it's usually time, resources, or ability. And the affirmation is I say it, and then I look for evidence at the end of the day. Any questions around that or affirmations? Anyone use affirmations? That's from Saturday Night Live. Affirmations are great. Help me sell my house. Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Saturday Night Live. I think that's what I said. It was, I don't remember his name. It wasn't Jack Handy. It was Stuart Smalley or something like that. It was like, gosh darn it, people like me. Anyways, because it was like the 90s and everyone's making fun of people who are like into self-development. So, okay, so another thing in the morning. So gratitude is huge. So what I do is I do actual and future. So one of the things I learned about gratitude is, and I've done this in the live trainings where people are like, what I do is an actual, like something I'm grateful for that I have right now. So almost always it's something around I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my business. I'm grateful for my friends. And in the future gratitude, I say I'm grateful for something that I will have in the future. So if anyone's watched like The Secret and things like that, they talk about that power of like the power of like living in the sensation of having already achieved something. And so that's what I do is I'm grateful for having these 6 new clients. I'm grateful for this new client that signed up even before they do it. And I like to start with the actual and then go straight to the future, because if I start with just the future, it's hard to feel grateful for it. But like my brain works that if I can do the thing that I'm actually grateful for and then slip into the future thing, it's like my brain doesn't like say, well, you can't be grateful for something you don't have. And I'm like, no, I'm grateful for it. And it helps me put in that mindset of gratitude. Visualization. I visualize, again, the future goal. Like mine is waking up. I've got my 6 new clients. I'm reaching out to them, thanking them for doing business with me. And there's going to be, I see Liz, you got to go. There's going to be a replay of this. So you can totally catch the replay. So anyways, I should have sent that in one of the emails. And then the bold request checks. I check that I've done the bold request during the day. And then morning journal is a belief statement about what I believe about what I'm up to that day. And then the daily tracker is the thing where I keep track of those 4 things and having completed them. And so the big thing about this is, the Pomodoro Technique. Raise your hand if you've heard of the Pomodoro Technique. Huge game changer in my life. I think I have a slide on it. Sorry, I'm looking for it. Okay, no. So I'll talk about it then. So the Pomodoro Technique is you set a countdown timer. This is a way to gamify your life. And this is the way that I've been able to get so many of these things done, is you set a timer for 45 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes. When it hits 0, you take a 10 to 15 minute break, and you have to take the breaks. Like, I'm terrible at this. I don't take the breaks. I just power through and I end up regretting it. So you set a countdown timer. So on my screen, I really do recommend you use a physical timer, because I do have an app that works, but I recommend you set a physical timer. 45 minutes are up, it beeps. I check off that I did the thing. I give myself 10 to 15 minutes to just do whatever I want. Like, let my scroll brain run free. Like, all those things that I've been thinking about distracting myself for those 10 to 15 minutes, checking Facebook, texting someone, emailing someone, whatever. I give myself permission to just go nuts in those 10 to 15 minutes and then hit the next thing at 45 minutes and so on. So 4 times for those 4 goals. And it really helps me stay focused. And I see that countdown timer and it actually makes it fun. Like when I write, I do that and I just see how much I can get done in 45 minutes. And it's a ton of fun. Okay. And then the bold requests. Yeah. And, the timer. Yeah. So that's the end of that page. That's what I do every morning. Now, time, this doesn't take long. I found that when I started doing a few of these things, I wanted to do more and more of them. So like I used to go for like a 5-minute walk every morning, and then it turned into like actually getting my runs in every morning. I used to start with very short meditations, and now I do longer ones. Like starting is the biggest thing, and you can do just what's on the page for sure. And then in those blank spots, you can be adding the things that you find helpful for you as you go. All right, so we talked about affirmations, but I love these quotes. Mel Robbins, waiting until you're ready is the same as expecting it not to happen. Love me some Mel Robbins. 5-second rule. She's amazing. I think she's like has her own show now. Like I went to email her for a podcast interview and I'm like, oh, I think she has a show. Been reading her stuff for a while. We talked about this. Gratitude. Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. The more you express gratitude for what you have, the more likely you will have even more to express gratitude for. This is like straight up true for me. The days where I skip the gratitude, like, oh man, because my default is to think that I used to think that gratitude equaled complacency. Like, oh, I'm grateful for what I have. I'm not going to try for more. Absolutely not. Like the gratitude thing is just key. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. By Melody Beatty. So true. Love me some gratitude. Cool. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and we'll wrap it up, is going to be accountability structures. So one of the hardest things for people to do when they have a goal is to see it all the way through. But accountability is key. But what's really cool is different accountability works for different people. So I'm going to briefly talk about the 4 kinds of, so if you've ever read Gretchen Rubin's Better Than Before, this is what I want to interview her about, is the 4 different types of personalities and what accountability works for them. So for me, accountability, if I want to learn about something or I want to hit a goal, I say it publicly. I set up an event to talk about it, or I go live about it, because one of my biggest fears is letting down a group of people or looking like a fool in front of a group of people. So part of how I did this webinar was I just scheduled it, started promoting it, and I was like, I got to figure this all out by the time it happens. It's huge for me. Other people, so let me know what you are, like what works for you accountability wise. So one is accountable to others. So if you read Gretchen Rubin's book, that's called the Upholder. Is that right? Yeah. No. Sorry. It's not the Upholder. It's the Obliger. The Obliger is someone who's accountable to other people. That works really well for me. When I had a personal trainer, I was working out all the time. When I run with a buddy, I work out. I run regularly. And the thing I want to interview Gretchen Rubin about is how to adjust for these interesting times when maybe some accountability structures aren't as easy to pull off. I do GSD sessions in a group I run. I set a goal and I go live and I talk to people about it. That works really well for me. Some people it's good enough to put it in the calendar. Like some people will put this in their calendar that my goal will be done by this day, and they put that in the calendar and that's enough for them. Those are the upholders. Like they are very highly accountable to themselves. I can't imagine what it's like to be like that, because I will put stuff in my calendar and I'll just like ride all over it. I'll be like, no, that ain't happening, because no one else knew that I'd put it in my calendar. So it's really funny. What's the other one? The other one is the rebel. The rebel has to feel like they're making a choice. So they have to feel like they're making a choice, or truly making a choice, not just feeling like it, when it comes to accountability. And what was the other one? Upholder? Oh, questioner. Accountability has to make sense. Like what they're doing has to make sense, or else they won't do it. So with fitness, I'm completely, so someone's saying in the chat, with fitness, I'm completely accountable to myself and thrive on that. With work, I get more done being accountable to others. Yeah. So I think that there's also areas of your life where there's just a hierarchy that's going to work. For me, running, I will do on my own all the time. Lifting weights, absolutely not. Like, I will not lift a weight unless I'm accountable to someone else to do it. Like, there's been phases in my life when I'll be able to pull it off, but like for me, weights is just one of those things I just cannot force myself to do. Go for a run, I'll go for a 2-hour run, like all by myself, and like never tell anyone about it. But the weights, so it is fascinating how different aspects of our lives or accountability works different. I'm super hyper aware of touching my face right now. I got to stop it. Anyways, yeah. So figuring out which kind of accountability structure is going to work for you. Setting an event, going live, putting it in your calendar. Accountability buddy. I have an accountability buddy that is huge. I don't know if they're here or not, but it's huge. Facebook group. Cool. So that's about it. I appreciate. So Mel Robbins, there is no right time. There is only right now. So the last step is getting into action. So accountability right now, figure out what your accountability structure is going to be. Text someone saying, hey, in 91 days, I will blank. If that's what's going to work for you, if putting it in your calendar is going to work for you, if going live on Facebook is going to work for you, go live on Facebook. Daily tracking, like I said, you can print out the 2 pages, keep using them. Last thing is Pomodoro Technique. Set that timer 4 times a day, count down, then give yourself a break, give yourself a treat. And then last thing I'll say is a canary in the coal mine. Is it coal? I think it's coal. Anyway, so has anyone ever heard of the canary in the coal mine, where back in the day before they had equipment that could test like fumes and stuff in mines, they used to take a canary down in a cage, and the canary would pass out before the people would, before the workers would. And so they always had a canary, and if the canary stopped chirping, if it passed out, they knew they had to get out. I've also heard that in fact they probably more likely used rats than canaries. But anyways, so the canary in the coal mine is, in my life, there are things that are clues that I am off track with my goals. So the clues for me are, if I sleep in, if I don't set an alarm, that's like the biggest red flag in my life. Like, I am not the kind of person that, like, if I'm sleeping in, it better be for a really good reason, or if I'm not setting an alarm, or it means that I've just kind of given up. Like, if I'm not setting an alarm, I'm giving up. And so it's one of those things where when I see it, I have to let someone know, like my wife, and be like, hey, I've just noticed I've stopped setting my alarm. I need to get back into it. But everyone's got those signs. Like, it's that thing that, like, it could be very small, but it's like, oh, I didn't do this one thing. But it's actually a sign of like things being a little bit, there being a deeper problem. And if you don't announce it, it's hard to snap out of it. So canary in the coal mine, figure out what that thing is, and like get ready when it shows up. If you have a plan of action, you can do something about it. It's kind of like, having an evacuation plan in the case of an earthquake. Like, if you wait until the earthquake happens, it's too late. But if you have it ready, it's like, oh, I see the signal, I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to make sure I don't like go down the rabbit hole of like not being productive. So that's about it, everyone. I really appreciate everyone being here. I thank you. I will send out an email to let everyone know. Like, I hope it wasn't confusing in the website, but for every person who registered for this, I'm going to give $1 to the local food bank, and every journal sale I make until the end of April, I have the best examples. Thank you. I'm going to, any proceeds I make from selling any journals until the end of April is also going to go to the local food bank. My wife went to drop stuff off there. And it was really packed at a time when they're encouraging people not to gather. Obviously, some people have no other option. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, let me know. I did not create this to promote the journal, but if you think the journal will be helpful for you, feel free to go check it out, and at thesquirreljournal.com. And that's about it. So everyone, I appreciate it. Take care. I hope you go ahead and print out the pages that you need. Go ahead and be using those morning and evening routines to get you through these interesting times. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I'll hang out for a minute if you have any questions about anything. But otherwise, I'll turn it off in about a minute or two and check my Facebook. You're welcome. That was good. You're welcome, Amy, Keelan. Welcome, Ashley. Welcome, Liz. Scrolling fast now. I hope I don't miss anyone. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. This is a lot of fun. Bye-bye.